This is a planet with limits. Capitalism is based on the idea of no limits. And more than ever, we are starting to recognize that the growth imperative in capitalism is inconsistent with sustainability. Capitalism is unsustainable. Right? Now, I have a bold new theoretical breakthrough. I realize, I have a PhD, which means I'm smarter than all of you. Right? Now, hold on here, just hang on. So I don't know if you're all going to follow this. Hold on, this is some bold new theoretical thinking I've been doing. Are you all ready? Yeah. All right. Unsustainable systems cannot be sustained.
I got it.
Okay, maybe not so bold after all. It seems rather straightforward, yes? All right, that's the reality. We have chosen, so-called chosen, an economic system that is inhuman, anti-democratic, and unsustainable. Does that seem sane and rational to you? No, in fact, resistance to capitalism, I think, is sanity and rationality. Woo. Now let's deal with that question about sustainability. We talked about empire, we talked about economics, now we have to talk about ecology. So far my talk has been upbeat and positive, but now we have to deal with reality that is always going to sort of bring us down. And that is the ecological realities in 2011. Right? Here, if you want to look at any measure of the underlying health of the ecosphere that makes our own lives possible, how well is the planet doing? Look at any measure you want, and I don't care what measure you choose. Topsoil loss, water contamination, in fact, profound changes in the hydrological cycle, chemical contamination of everything from the soil to our own body, the number and growing size of the dead zones in the oceans, right? And of course, this minor inconvenience called climate disruption. Look at any measure you want of the underlying health of the ecosphere, and the news is all bad. What we have been living through really the last 250 years is an era of incredibly rapid expansion that was subsidized by cheap energy. And there's two things we have to come to terms with. One is that industrial era subsidized by cheap energy has brought us to the brink of suicide. The second thing is, oh, by the way, that energy is running out. And we have two massive ecological questions. One is, how are we going to pull back from burning the energy sources we have to try and create a sustainable ecosystem? And the second is, how are we going to live in this modern industrial infrastructure when that cheap energy is running out? Now, the point of stepping back and trying to think about these systems, we talked about the political system, the economic system, and the industrial system. The point again is to suggest that the analysis we need to understand why the 1% are running the world and running it badly is to recognize the problem is not the people who currently occupy those positions in the 1%. It's not that they're just particularly bad people. No doubt they are. I've yet to meet a rich person I liked or respected. I don't know any rich people I like or respect. But that's not because I think rich people are genetically flawed from birth. It has something to do with what happens when you become part of that 1%. Okay? So the question isn't how do we replace the 1% with a different 1%, or even how do we replace the current political leadership with a better class of people. That's not the problem. The problem is in the nature of the systems that currently define the modern world. Now, here's my last comment, and then I'll make good on my promise to be rather brief. When you step back and try to analyze systems, the first thing that people will tell you is, well, that's not realistic. Correct? You've heard this, yes? When you start to offer a critique of the basic systems, people say, that's not realistic. I would like someone to explain to me why it's realistic to argue for the perpetuation of systems that have brought us to the edge of ecocide. Does that seem realistic to you? To recognize the systems themselves are fundamentally flawed, but say we must continue within those systems. Again, that seems to me to be irrational and to be fundamentally insane. So our job is to be realistic in some deeper sense. Be willing to reflect on the nature of these systems, tell the truth about those systems, and start to envision some sort of different world. Now, I don't think that's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week. It's going to happen through the experiments that are going on around the country and around the world. So my last comment, it's really not a comment, but a clipboard, because the world will be improved with more clipboards. That's my theory. So part of what I do, in addition to teach in college, is work with a variety of community organizations. The one that is sort of my home base is called the Third Coast Activist Resource Center. A name that's rather vague on purpose, because when you have plans for secret revolutions, you've got to keep your name vague. Okay? But don't tell anybody else about the plan for the secret revolution. The Third Coast Activist Resource Center is a group concerned about justice on the global scale. One of the things we do is we operate an email list which brings together news of progressive events going on around Austin, both events that we sponsor and events other people are sponsoring. It's a once-a-week email list, announcement only, no spam. If you're not on the email list, some of you may know it as the No War list, which is what we called it when we started. Obviously, it came out of anti-war organizing. I'm going to pass around the clipboard, put your email address on it, and I'll subscribe you to it. The Third